So in a video I did a couple of years ago with the title Clean Genuine Vitamin D3 plus K2, somebody made a comment yesterday. Why do you recommend taking the lower dose for women? Now, I pointed out two examples of the D3K2 that British supplements do. Now, they do one capsule at 10,000 IU, and they do another one from memory, I think it's 5,700 IU. Now, in that video I did 2 years ago, I pointed out that, there is an importance to having the two together. If you take D3 on its own, it becomes problematic in certain aspects. You need to have the K2 to get the best out of the D3. And the K2 does many other things, and especially for males, it helps increase testosterone levels. That's been found, but hey, you've got the same access to the internet as me, but I will not be surprised if somebody puts a link, or somebody makes a comment saying, I'm sorry, where's that peer-reviewed, blah, blah, blah. They've got the same access to the internet, yeah? But, no doubt I'll be having to throw a link in somewhere. But yeah, I've been... Oh, let me think. In all honesty, let me think. 15 plus years I've been taking about 20,000 IU a day of vitamin D3 K2. And I swear by it, absolutely. And in that short video, I said, it's the sunshine vitamin for a reason. And when you look at all the chemtrailing, and now they're externalizing some of it. What was it with the BBC and various others recently? Oh yes, just £50 million will be spent on just this experiment about dimming the skies to reduce Earth's temperatures. The insanity of that on steroids. But, anybody that's awake at all knows that we've been chemtrailing this. Well, no, the occultists have been chemtrailing, the death cultists, the interconnected death cultists. It worked out that, hey, you need to, all you need to do is look at pictures of older hospitals and, go back several decades, many decades actually. And in many instances, especially in the Second World War, etc., they would have, and especially in the warmer climes, wards where it was open to the air. It was quite literally open to the sun, and they'd be on wheels, would be dragged, pushed through to their normal wards. But during the day, they were exposed to as much sunlight as possible because they knew the benefits of D3. Yeah, it wasn't rocket science. They knew it decades and decades and decades ago. What is one of the major problems you've got these days? Depression. Because of the lack of sunlight. And remember, that 2 weeks that you've slaved your year away to, to get these 2 weeks or whatever it is in Torremolinos, and you come back burnt as a crisp, whatever, it's not cutting it. Yeah? The amount of natural sunlight that we all used to enjoy is much diminished, yeah? And our apparent solution for so many in denial, as opposed to what's happened to the seasons, is to, get those package or cheap holidays on whatever Ryanair or whatever else to some place that looks like, let's be honest, in many instances, when I look at Spain, there's some beautiful areas. But when you look these days at the popular haunts, they're like, honestly, they're like fucking Nidri or somewhere, but with a bit of sun. It's, all these depressing, I would argue, multi-stories and all the rest of it of, whether it's timeshare or whatever the fuck, but I think it's sad. And we're off at tangents, and we're nearly 5 minutes into this. But the clued up have been taking D3K2 for quite a while. And I would argue, for me as a male, 57, blah, 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 and as I said, for at least 15 years plus, I've been taking about 20,000 IU. 2 of those capsules a day. equivalent. Yeah. Previous to my wonderful experience with British supplements has been that I was taking other makes. The trouble was so many other companies. They've got so many, well, fillers and silicon dioxide and you know, a horrible list of things that's not needed in the capsule. But the only people that seem to be, well, get less grief from the powers that be are the ones that have got all the fillers and every single bloody thing that they provide that's supposed to be beneficial to you. We're still, you could argue, off at tangents, but this company, one of its biggest selling points is you literally get what you pay for. It's literally a capsule filled with what you need. Whatever that vitamin is, whatever that supplement is, that's it. There's nothing else. That's why they're so popular. I mean, you'll not see them on the mainstream, but I can assure you it's probably one, if not the best supplement company I can think of, at least in the Western Hemisphere. That's how good that company is. But to answer the lady's question, and she must be losing the will to live by now, because she's like, why would you recommend women take less? Now, at the time that I did the vid, I was just quite literally thinking on total body mass. You know, women by and large being smaller than males. Yeah. But on reflection, from when I did that vid about a couple of years ago, and at some stage towards the end of the vid, I said I no longer need to take glucosamine. Now, you know, a few months after that, well, maybe even a year after that, I actually found that I still needed to take glucosamine. Yep, we're off at tangents, but it might explain things to the lady, the individual who's asked. I would say to women, at least take one of the 10,000 IUs. It's just there's a lot of people out there that go, my doctor said that only 400 IU a day is needed because that's what the government says. I promise you that's at least, that is at the most 10% of what you actually need. Minimum, yeah? So at the bare minimum, I would say to people, take about 10,000 IU, which is still more than that 5,700, But for me personally, well, I have taken 20,000 IU for at least about 15 years. Yeah. I also, and the reason why I go on to say this, yeah, thanks for that, Bella. Why is it when I do bloody vids you want to talk? Last word freak that she is. God bless her. Maybe I'll do a vid at some stage of that roaring cow in the background. It's a chow chow. And anybody that's had a chow chow knows that they're very characterful dogs. They have the physicality of a dog, but also the attitude of a cat. Yeah, it's not too far from the reality of things. But yes, thanks again. Yes. But I would also say to people, when we're talking about things like depression, which I'm seeing more and more in the young team. And even when you speak to them and all the rest of it, the first thing I say to them, D3, K2, that's one, straight off the bat. The other thing I would say to them is that they should take a thing called magnesium L-threonate. Now, there's various types of magnesium, but one I have absolutely found to be the best. Well, for me personally, there we go. L-threonate. Yeah. Now, I think they also do another one, a sort of magnesium with like a number of different aspects of magnesium. The mega magnesium, there's that one. I haven't tried that one yet, but it's like different types of magnesium in the one capsule. The L-threonate is apparently more focused on the brain. But I'm on it. My mate Al, who's coming up for 81 now, he's on it and swears by it. I spoke to a number of neighbours, various friends, people that I knew that were actually quite down, and I even handed them some and said, look, let me know, because I noticed it within the matter of days. Magnesium L-threonate. And there's a great YouTuber friend of mine, a guy called DJ. He's got a channel, Resisting the Lies, and even by his own words, I noticed he did a vid recently. He was talking about depression and all the rest of it. I've literally tried to say to the guy, look, your next time, because I think he works in the building trade, blah, blah, blah. When you get back out in the tools, whatever else, make sure that you get some magnesium L-threonate. And, give it a week or two and tell me how you feel. Seriously. To this day, look, maybe another reason why I'm doing this vid, if other people are going, yeah, Scott might have a point here, maybe it'll get through to DJ, yeah? Because I'm not wrong. I'd only recommend things that I absolutely know to be absolutely effective. It's not the only things that I get from British supplements, but at the very bare minimum, ladies and gentlemen, D3K2, and, for me personally, L-threonate. There are variations, but I absolutely swear by it. Totally. No two doubts about it. If you've got any kind of joint issues, all the rest of it, which I am of an age and have been for quite a while to gain the benefit, I would also say things like glucosamine for the joints. You could go further. You could look at collagen. There's another one, both for males and females. And recently, I started looking into and found the benefits of a thing called silica bamboo extract. Yeah, because it helps bond the 2 or 3 of those, the glucosamine and the collagen. And yeah, I've found that I can, lift weights again without the pain in the elbows and the knees, etc., that I was having before. But, look, as always, I could do a better job, but at least discussing the subjects, because these aren't generally discussed. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of YouTubers, I'm Dr. Such and Such, and I'm, But in all honesty, I would only recommend things that I absolutely know to work. And I'll leave you a link. Well, in that vid, I just left it there. But in this, like most of my vids recently, I leave it in the descriptor. So, for example, let's look at the last one. So, in that one, I'll leave you a link to, British supplements, Inessa Multivitamins, which I found to be the best. Just a couple of affiliate links. And by the way, I have never got a penny from any of them, but it does not detract from why I recommend them. Seriously. Anyway, a different type of video. I hope it makes some sense, and I'll speak to you soon.